Welcome to a little less stupid songs and stories to be dumb, less, and smart, more. Today, we're going to be a little less stupid on doing things that we think are impossible. And so I was staring up at a stream of water falling from the ceiling of our cedar log cabin we had just purchased a week prior. And a stream of water was falling from the ceiling into a blue 5-gallon bucket. And I looked at the leak and I just wondered, can I fix that? And I thought of 3 bedrooms that had carpet that was fully stained and smelled like cat pee and would all have to be replaced. I thought of an entire exterior wall that was rotting and would have to be replaced. And this was just 2 items on a long list of fixer-upper to-dos with a wallet that was feeling stressed as I was. And I looked at this roof and I said, can I fix it? And I quickly, as this summer thunderstorm weared off, I went onto the roof and I don't know roofs, but I didn't see a hole in the roof. And I was like, I guess the answer is no. I can't fix it. And I went and sat down on my chair, and I saw on my phone I had been listening to the Wright Brothers by David McCullough, and my chickens are talking. David McCullough in this book had been really well in a fantastic way describing the Wright brothers, and I was just like, man, if these 2 dinguses from Ohio of all places who didn't go to college can figure out how to be the first people ever to fly, like, I can fix a roof. And I remembered thinking, like, how did they do it? Like, what pattern did they do that maybe I could copy? And I noticed that they definitely started asking the same question I had, like, can I fly? And then they shifted there. They shifted from can I to asking, what do I need to do to make this happen? And they made a very clear list. It was really just 2 things, making a list of the things that they thought they need to do, and then they did them. And they were like, okay, we'd have to study the birds and see what they're doing to figure out this flying thing. Then we'd have to save X dollars to build a plane. Then maybe we'd do some gliders, so fingers crossed we don't die. And then eventually, they're flying, and obviously takes time, a little bit of discomfort, but they progressively stopped asking, can I do it, to what do I need to do to make this happen? And that question made them do what everybody thought was impossible. And I started to do that with this crazy, lovely, now awful home that we purchased that hadn't been taken care of for 20 plus years. And I asked, well, what do I need to do to fix this roof? And I was like, I probably need to understand what a roof is and how it works. And so I watched, I think, 3 YouTube videos on common roofing problems. And I saw one based on where the roof leak was. I was like, I think that one might be it, because it's at the edge of the roof where it meets another building. And so I grabbed some basic roofing tools they said I would need, and I went onto my green shingled roof, and I looked at this corner, and I pulled back this thing I learned was counter flashing, this piece of metal on the side of the building that went into the roof going into the kitchen where the roof leak was. And the second I pulled off the counter flashing, an alarm went off in my mind of woo, 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 woo. I saw kind of if you imagine a bridge missing the center point where if cars go off, it's just going to fall right off. there was a missing piece of, it's called step flashing, and it just wasn't there. I don't know if the roofer had too many Coors Lights, but it was not there. And I saw, like, I'm not super smart, but the gravity on that, the water's going to start flowing right there. And that was where the leak was into our house. And so I knew I needed to get a new piece of flashing, so I went to the hardware store in Berryville, got a quick piece of flashing. I already had some tin snips, cut a piece, put it in, put the counter flashing back. And then I asked again, like, what do I need to do to make sure this roof is actually fixed? And I called my wife 5 minutes later on top of this roof with a 5-gallon blue bucket full of water. And I said, can you go in the kitchen and tell me if any water is falling through the ceiling? And she said, what? I said, just tell me if water comes through the ceiling in the kitchen. And over 10 seconds, I slowly started pouring water, hoping, praying. The Wright Brothers taught me well. And after about 10, 15 seconds, I didn't hear anything from my wife. And I was like, do you see anything? And she's like, no water. And I dropped my bucket down. I hung up the phone, both fists in the air. I was just like, yes, I did it. And I didn't think I could. And there's so many things on this crazy house where it was like, I don't know how to do that. And I think asking that question, what do I need to do to, and you fill in the blank, and writing out that list of things. And it's not always a short list, but there's enough things where when you say, like, hey, can I record an album? It just feels like, well, no, because I don't, it's all a jumbled mess of a lot of different complex tasks. But if you just ask, what do I need to do to record an album? It turns into, well, I'll need to write songs, and I'll need to get someone to record them, and I'll need to have album artwork. And all of those things laid out are a lot more manageable and doable. And so I did not write a song about roofing. I did write a song about the Wright Brothers and them asking the better questions to be able to do the impossible. And this song is called The Wright Brothers. Do you think that I could fly, grow some wings and touch the sky? Papa says no. And I start talking to the birds. What's your secret? What's the word you say? I ask from below. I'll make friends with Mr. Crow. He says stop asking yes or no. Well, what should I say? What do I need to do to grow some wings that work like you? And keep asking that. Ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh. Chickadees, what is new? I love flying. Mr. Wright, how are you? I love flying. Up here, it's mines too. I don't care, look at this view. I love flying. Ooh, 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 ooh. Thank you for joining me on this journey to be a little less stupid. I hope you're loving it. I'm loving it. That's not a McDonald's. Whatever. Please subscribe. Please give this 5 stars. It really helps. And please text this podcast to a friend if you find it delightful to your ears. And we'll see you next week on A Little Less